Good evening, everybody. Welcome to your Tuesday evening Facebook Live. My name is Sarah Edwards. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I come to you guys live every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 to show you a fun new project. So I have been doing a lot of heat embossing lately, so I figured why not continue with the heat embossing, and I figured let's do tonight's card on that. So I pulled in a couple different sets and some of the amazing, beautiful designer series paper we have, and I have created a really cute thank you card. I think we all need thank you cards, and having a lot of them on hand is a good idea. So that's what we're going to be doing tonight, but I just wanted to chit-chat and welcome everybody. Good evening, Marie. I had a crazy busy day as usual. I'm sure everybody else does as well. Yesterday we had Lucas all day, and oh my goodness, he is so much fun. I cannot get enough of him, and I can't wait for more. So one day, hopefully we have more that we can spoil rotten and then send home. It's the most amazing thing out there. Good evening, Mary. Welcome. So I do have an email going out for tomorrow for card class on Saturday. I have a few spots left, so if anybody's interested in card class, you can definitely hit one of the little responses if you want it to go, or if you want to come to one of the classes, you can definitely do that. Let's see, anything else? Oh, all the catalogs went out, all the holiday catalogs, so hopefully you guys are getting them or will be getting them. Half of them went out Friday, the other half went out on Saturday. So you should be getting them today or tomorrow at the very latest. And if you haven't gotten a catalog and you want one, definitely send me a message and I will get one dropped in the mail to you as soon as possible. Okay, let's point you over and we will start crafting. I just want to make sure we are live on Facebook, which we should be. I had to update my iPad today, and cross your fingers, everything goes well. So, good evening, Heather. Welcome. So, this is an online exclusive die set. I just went online, and it is still available. It's called the Radiating Stitched Dies, and it is definitely different and fun. And you really don't have to do a lot with these. You can if you want to, but I chose just to do something very simple and quick. But I did use the largest one, the second, the third, and the little circle. I really wanted to do the heart, but my sentiment didn't fit in this heart, so I had to use these four. So these are the four I used, and I cut the designer series paper. Let me bring it in to show you. So the 6x6 will run right through your embossing machine. So I just cut it right out of the 6x6, and you have about 2 inches left over, which wasn't quite enough to cover the flap of the envelope, but you could definitely use it for something else. So this is what I just chopped the designer series. I actually didn't even cut it before I ran it. I ran it through. This popped out, and it gives just a little bit of stitchery. I don't think stitchery is proper English, but that's what I'm going to call it today, stitchery. It just gives a little bit of stitching on the edges. And then I pulled in a piece of the Calypso Coral, and I just used my scrap from my scrap bin, and I cut one out of this one as well, and you can see the stitching on the edge. And then the last one, I don't work with Very Vanilla very often, so when I get the opportunity to, that's all I do. So I pulled in some of the Very Vanilla, and I went ahead and die cut this piece, and you can see it has the same stitching. And guess what? The circle has the same stitching as well. Let me find my little circles. Oh, there they are. And I did this one in Calypso Coral as well. So those are the colors we're going to be using, and that is the die sets. And then I pulled in the inked and tiled stamp set. I know I've used a lot of this stamp set and many of the sentiments I've used, but I don't think I've used this great big flower. So this is what it looks like when it's mounted on your stamp set, and you get lots of different sentiments. And I'm pulling in the thank you. And I already have that one on a block right beside me as well. So that's the dies and the stamps. Let me bring in the designer series paper. I really don't have much of the designer series paper left because I have been using the heck out of it. I think these are my last 4 sheets, my last four full sheets. Whew, try to say that fast 10 times. But it is definitely fun and different, and I love that it's a very vanilla base. So there's all the goodies. Let's bring in the card. So here's the card we're going to be making. And I like how it's just a very simple thank you, and all the rest of it just does the work for you. You don't really have to do a lot to this card. I did tie a double bow, and I'll show you guys how to do that as well. So let's get started. So you will need any color cardstock that matches your designer series paper. I chose Calypso Coral, which is a color I don't use very often, but it helps when it coordinates with the designer series paper to use the colors that you don't usually go to. So this is 5.5 by 8.5, and I scored it at 4 1/4. So I'm going to give that a good crease. And I have a piece of Very Vanilla, and this is 4 by 5 1/4. And I'm just going to glue this on the inside. It looks like I have a little mark right there, but you know what? Nobody's ever going to know, because we are going to glue this over it. I think I might have a little booger on the end of my glue, and I do. It's a big booger. Holy smokes. That's probably the biggest booger I've seen in a long time. Let's see if I got it out. Yep, I did. So I'm going to put some adhesive on the back, and I'm going to set this right inside, and it covered up that little mark, so nobody will ever see it. Perfect. So I have my designer series paper, I have my Calypso Coral, and I have my Very Vanilla, and I have my little circle. So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to go ahead and do my stamping, and I didn't bring in some grid paper, so I'm just going to use a piece of paper that I have. You probably recognize it from a couple weeks ago Facebook Live. Oh, you know what? I'm going to have to walk into my craft room because I think I forgot to put some coral. I have all crafting here, and wouldn't you know, I left it on my table. But I knew exactly where it was. So I'm going to open up my Calypso Coral, and I'm going to ink this up, and I'm just going to randomly stamp around. It doesn't have to be anything specific, just kind of play with it and have fun. So I'm going to turn, and I want to get a couple of the flowers in here, and I want to get the edge, and maybe I'll flip it around and get another little edge right there. There we go. So really not a whole lot of stamping. I'm going to use that again, so I'm just going to set it to the side. So not a whole lot of stamping, but it does the job. Let's pick this up and add some adhesive to the back. I'm going to set this right inside. And wouldn't you know, I don't have any mini glue dots over here either. So we are going to improvise and use some tear tape. I must have grabbed them while I couldn't find any on my table. So I always know they're out here, and I know I should never grab them off because I always forget to put them back. But it's a story of my life. So I put 2 smidgens of tear tape on the back just so I could wrap the ribbon around. So I'm going to wrap this around twice, and this is just our linen thread. There we go. Trim that off. And now we can go ahead and assemble our card, and we will do the embossing at the very end. So because this has the little lines cut in the designer series paper, I don't want to go totally to the edge. So I'm just going to come in and put a little tiny square or a little bit of glue on each of the squares. And I did put some in the center, so it will hold in the center. I just didn't want it eking through. There we go. While this is still flipped up, I'm going to put some dimensionals. I'm going to put one in each corner and one in the center. And I know this is probably overkill, but I didn't want my ribbon to come undone. So I went ahead and put 2 right over that. And since I didn't put the ribbon all the way to the top, I didn't want it to sag at the top either. So there is that. Super easy, right? And it's so fun. Okay, so let's bring in our little circle. So I am going to take the embossing buddy, and I want to rub the embossing buddy over the cardstock. This just helps get rid of any oils or static that is on your cardstock that could transfer into the embossing. So I did that. Let's grab the Versamark and the thank you. Ink that up, and I'm going to stamp it kind of in the center. Perfect. Make sure you always close the lid on the Versamark before you pull out your embossing, because you don't want to accidentally get it inside. So these little containers, I get a lot of people that ask me about them. I just bought them on Amazon, and these little guys are the command strips. They're the itty bitty baby ones, and I found these spoons. Actually, I think it was a Tastefully Simple lady that was getting rid of a bunch of them, and I got them from her. So I'm sure you can find the spoons on Amazon as well. I'm just going to take my white, and I like to tap it on the back. This just gets any excess off. And if you want it a smidgen darker, you can always go over it again. But just make sure you tap the excess off. There we go. Make sure you put the lid on this as well before you turn your heat gun on. Otherwise, you will be wearing all of the powder. And this is probably going to be a little loud, so I apologize. So you're just going to take your embossing gun, and we're just going to heat it up until the wax starts to melt. Thank you, Christina. Welcome. Do you guys see how it totally changes colors? It's like millions of tiny little plastic particles that make the embossing powder, and when the heat hits it, it melts it. And I love the way it turns out. So now I'm going to flip that over, put 2 dimensionals on the back. I actually learned this from my upline, Heather. She told me that you can have 2 layers of dimensionals on a card before you have to pay extra postage. And I've always done just 1 layer, but she said you can have 2, so that's why I did actually double dimension this. Okay, so our last thing is to tie a double bow. I am just going to take a nice amount of ribbon. I don't know, this is probably 6 inches or 12 inches, and I'm going to loop it. So I'm going to double it, and I am going to cut it off. So now I have, maybe it's about 10 inches, maybe that's about 5 inches. So it is a little wobbly. So I'm just going to loop, just like I tie any other normal bow, but I'm just doing it with 2 pieces of thread versus 1. So this is the tricky part, getting both of these in. And I didn't make my loop big enough. Let's try that again. Okay, so 1 loop. There is a trick. I should have brought some baby wipes over. If you take baby wipes and run it over this linen thread, it will straighten it out. There we go. Now we have a double bow. You can pull these until you get the size you want. And now you can come in and give it a little haircut. There we go. There is your double bow. That will go right there once I get some mini glue dots. This is what I need my husband out here. Can you run into my desk and get me some mini glue dots? He probably would be like, what the heck is a mini glue dots? That is probably the response I'm going to get from him. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and heat emboss these other two because I have 3 cards to make for you guys tonight. It's the same concept. I use the same of everything, but I like to just show in case you're running late to the Facebook Live, you can still see from start to finish. I'm going to go ahead and ink up the thank you. There we go. Close your lid. Bring in your embossing. And try not to touch it until you get your embossing powder on, because any oils is going to stick to it. So give it a good tap, flip it over, tap the edge. That one looks pretty good. And I probably should do one at a time, but I'm not. I'm going to do them both. Let's add a little bit more. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's close this. Sorry, if I don't put that in there right now, I'm going to forget, and then it's going to end up all over the place. Okay, so now let's try and get them both at the same time. Hey, look at there, it works. So I know that embossing is a little loud, but can you guys see it changed the colors? I think it's the coolest thing. I have been working with one of the new sets from the new annual catalog. It's the skeleton and bones. I forget the technical name of it, or the first name of it, or the actual name of it. Oh, that's hard. But it is all about skeletons, and skeletons are white, so I have been doing a lot of embossing. And it's fun, it's different, it's kind of feels like magic. So now I'm just going to randomly stamp this little guy. Or girl, whatever it is. The leaf. And you can really use this in any of our designer series paper. It doesn't have to just be this designer series paper. You can mix and match your stamp sets, your designer series paper. Possibilities are endless. But just remember to always have something underneath you if you're not stamping directly onto a full sheet. It will save you in the long run. There we go. Oops. First lot. We are done with Eclipse of Coral, so I'm going to close that up. Bring in our 2 layering pieces. Did you guys know using this set you could layer all of them together and it looks so stinking cute? That's one. Let's flip these over. You know what? We're going to X-nay the tear tape, and I am just going to go ahead and put some dimensionals on. And it'll be stuck on the dimensional versus the back. It should work. If not, we'll find out pretty quickly, right? I don't see why it wouldn't work. Yes, possibilities are endless. Totally agree with you, Marie. Okay, let's peel these off. It's so nice. My fingernails are finally getting long enough where I can pull all these off in one fluid motion. Oh, that was rough for a few weeks. all done. Okay, let's grab our twine, and I think we're okay with saying this, but they actually have a new Calypso Coral ribbon that is in the new annual catalog, or the new holiday catalog, and I almost brought it out, but I was like, no, not yet. We still have a few more weeks before we can order it, so I don't want to tempt anybody. Okay, so this can get glued on. There we go. Let's do this last one. I'm going to have to order some more of this twine. I am almost out. It's so easy to use, and it just adds that extra touch to it. I don't want to cut both of those. There we go. Let's grab our other designer series paper. And I probably won't make you sit and watch me tie 2 more bows. If you want to, you totally can, but we'll at least get the cards put together and I can do the bows later. Famous last words, right? Tomorrow I actually am working in Wickenburg for a couple shifts. So I have to leave a little extra early because it's, I think, about a 40-45 minute drive, which I'm super excited to go out there. So I won't have as much time in my craft room tomorrow, but I'll still get a few hours. I have almost all of card class designed. I haven't prepped it yet, but I at least know what we're doing. So there's this one. And you could really pull in some of the petal pink that's in this designer series paper also. This is going to go on the inside just so I don't forget later. And when you're needing to make multiples of cards, this is the way to do it. Just do an assembly line. Kind of like what I'm doing. There we go. Flip these over. Add some dimensionals. Pop this right on. And voila. I will have to do those later because I don't have any mini glue dots, but this is what it is supposed to look like when it is all said and done. And here are the ones that we just did. So simple but elegant, and it gets the point across. You're saying thank you, and I think you've done a great job at saying thank you. So there you go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's live. I know it was pretty quick and easy, and that's kind of sometimes the way we need to roll, is quick and easy, because we just need to get out there and craft. Anyway, if you need anything, please feel free to reach out. If not, I will see many of you guys on Saturday and again on Thursday for another fun live. Have a great evening, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.